The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. Want the real story behind the sound bites and headlines? Let's find the facts. Remember, it's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. You are not paranoid or confused. You just need to know.
Greetings, everyone. Let's get another edition of Need to Know underway. Kip Keefer with you on this Monday, starting a brand new week with some thoughts on a couple of different topics, all sort of related, but each with their own separate identity. So we're going to try to stay concise here and just get to the point. I know frequent listeners are used to me sort of going around in circles to try and drive home what I'm trying to express, but we're going to try a little bit more of a direct approach today, starting with the state of Minnesota. In fact, I've got some business to transact there. Oh, here we go. Come on. Yeah, come on in. Come on in, have a seat. Yeah, make yourself comfortable. Thanks for stopping by. Listen, this is not a pleasant duty for me today. Welcome into the office. I've been asked to let you know on behalf of the United States of America that we're going to have to make a change, Minnesota. I'm sorry to tell you, but we're going to have to let you go. The state of Minnesota has been around since 1858. This would be its 158th year, but we're just getting to the point here in the United States where you are much more trouble than you're worth, despite your land of 10,000 lakes and not much sports success. I don't believe there's been a professional world championship in any of your teams, beginning in hockey with the Minnesota North Stars, who are now in Dallas, and by the way, did win a Stanley Cup when they relocated. The Minnesota Timberwolves, no, not yet. And the long-running Minnesota Vikings and Minnesota Twins, also big zeros. But sports ineptitude is far from the reason that we're going to have to make a change here. It is just the way you run your state and the way that your population conducts itself. It's just gotten intolerable. Continuing now, after the situation was calmed down, we had all of the organized mayhem of the ICE invasion of Minneapolis to round up countless fugitives from the law. ICE officers who are federal law enforcement officers sworn to uphold their duties and the Constitution were attacked like thieves. You've got some history with that. Back in the, I believe, the early 1870s in your city here in Minnesota, the James Gang tried to rob a bank and were met with tremendous resistance. And ICE was given a encore performance with that, although Jesse James and his outlaws were certainly not law-abiding and were there for robbery and mayhem and even murder if necessary. ICE has not been assigned to Minneapolis for that task. Once again, these are law enforcement officers. And when did it become fashionable in this country to completely be able to interfere with police operations to the point of getting in the way, obstructing vehicles, trying to provoke confrontations with officers? These are things that in the other era of our country, the first 240 some odd years, as we start to celebrate year 250 now, this is a recent phenomenon where you can get nose to nose and provoke police into confrontation. Back in the day, you would have been beaten down, handcuffed, dragged to a paddy wagon, and taken to jail. Now, after these altercations, frequently you're just released. Get out of here, get out, stop making trouble, don't come back, and yet you're back the next day. This has been going on during these couple of months of all of this upheaval in Minneapolis as ICE tries to execute its job, its constitutional duty to find people that are in the country illegally, that have committed crimes, to get them the hell out of here. And anybody who says, these are our neighbors, these are our friends, these are our fellow citizens, these people, look at the sheets, folks. These people are murderers, armed robbers, you name it, child molesters, rapists, guilty of assault, fraud in Minnesota. We'll get to that in a minute. My goodness. But we just can't keep you. If you're going to fight for these people against sworn law enforcement officers from your own country, what kind of warped upside down perception of things do you have? Are you absolutely out of your mind? Now, we had, of course, the ultimate provocation where two different Minneapolis citizens found themselves in a situation where they provoked law enforcement to the point where law enforcement felt threatened, and to defend themselves, they took the ultimate measure of defense, which is to lethally and unfortunately fatally wound two different protesters. Really provocateurs is what they were, because they were both trained. They were both not just an organic protester. And, protest used to be cordoned off by police behind police barricades, and they could raise all the hell they wanted, scream all their slogans, do all their things. But now, with the Minneapolis police ordered by the powers that be, standing back and not being involved, you've got federal agents in close contact, physical contact, in vehicles and face-to-face with these alleged protesters, which once again are not there really to protest. They're there to provoke reaction. And their handlers, the people that are paying for all this mayhem and pulling the strings, hope against hope that the ultimate will occur and there will be real confrontations. And if the results are deadly, so, that's the jackpot. We can spare a few protesters, provocateurs, if they pay the ultimate price for their public dissent. Just fuels the fire and helps the objective become achieved. So you've got this situation, and the second one of these is still under full investigation. I don't know exactly what happened there. There's not really good footage. There's a lot of evidence leading up to the point of the man being shot that is questionable, and there's a full investigation by both state and federal authorities. But to get to the point here, this mayhem is not organic, it's organized, and it's completely out of hand. And now that the president has basically sent in Tom Homan to work out a settlement with the governor, another reason we just cannot tolerate you continuing as a state, because Tim Walz is any state, any electorate that would elect Tim Walz governor, one of the most reprehensible, biggest weenies our country has seen in many a year, masquerading as a champion football coach and this macho guy, when he's about as macho as a castrated poodle. It's just laughable that he's your governor. And Keith Ellison, who used to be in the House of Representatives, probably the furthest left fanatical goofball in the whole country, wears his socialist, far left Marxist attitude on his sleeve. I mean, for these to be two of the principal leaders in your state says everything about you. So even in this era where a large number of the officers that were dispatched to Minneapolis to deal with the situation, because security had to be provided as well. If the police aren't doing their job to keep protesters and law enforcement officers separated, then you have to have all kinds of additional federal personnel to do the job of the local police. That's what happens when there's no cooperation. And the leadership did not allow the police to participate. And the police leaders also had their guys stand down, which created the volatile situation that led to two organized protesters, not organic once again, trained troublemakers, certified. We've got the proof that both underwent training. And the bottom line is both of them ended up being shot. And it's a terrible situation, and I feel for them and their families. No one deserved to lose their lives over this situation. But the people that are stirring the pot here, I can promise you, welcomed that development, because it just allowed them to turn the heat up even higher. So with all that calmed down now in the last couple of weeks, there are still these gigantic protests. And now they've called in the A-team, the provocateurs, the people that think they're standing up for a cause that have been brainwashed, have not had a sufficient education to understand what they're being sucked into. Now they've been told to go to the back of the line, because now the professional troublemakers are here. Now what we've been referring to as Antifa, the professionals, the real rioters, the ones who destroy property, burn down buildings, are a threat to everybody walking around. They are now on the job, and it's a rerun of the whole George Floyd situation, which resulted in so much of Minneapolis being literally burnt to the ground. This is just a reboot of what we've already seen in this godforsaken frozen state, and it's continuing. Not to mention the fact that we've had a recent scandal with a gigantic Somali population that were not across the border folks that straggled across. These were people that our own State Department flew into Minnesota and colonized with the intention of them becoming their own district, their own area for elections. And of course, now we've got the reprehensible Tlaib in Congress, who was an absolute Marxist and corrupt as the day is long. When she first declared her net worth, when she started her House of Representatives career a couple of years ago, it was listed total net worth of $65,000. That included her home, her savings, all the whole shooting match. In her latest disclosure, a couple years later, she lists her net wealth at over $25 million. Now, being a representative pays pretty well. $170,000 a year, I think, is the salary. But to amass over $24 million in net worth in just a couple of years, there's something really rotten in St. Paul and in Washington. And these are all the things that you've got to look at. Not to mention the fact that the ongoing investigation has revealed that the Somali population of Minnesota, predominantly, has stolen $18 million from American taxpayers, grants from the federal government, state funds that were established to help children and autistic children and people with severe diseases, fake health clinics, fake daycares, fake schools, fake different clinics have been set up, and there's no vetting in Minnesota. People apply with their paperwork, and next thing you know, voila, they receive a big check for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. This has been one of the great frauds in the history of this country, and Minnesota's responsible. So We've already talked to Canadians. They've got a bunch of leftist people up in a lot of their provinces too. We are recommending, Minnesota, that you go ahead and sign on with our neighbors to the north. You're already up there in godforsaken winterland. Why not join up with the Canadians? We've just had enough. We have to let you go. You're a state that elected formally Jesse the Body Ventura, a former professional wrestler to be governor, and had 2 terms in the Senate served by Saturday Night Live comedy writer Al Franken, a comedian who turned out to be a serial woman groper and had to retire or resign, I should say, in disgrace from the Senate from Minnesota. So you've got a long history of just ridiculously aberrant behavior. Somehow you've become a far left ideological wasteland, and we've just had enough. We're going to have to let you go. Speaking of letting people go, I'm about up to here right now with this whole movement going on in northern Italy, in Cortina, where the Winter Olympics are being held. Almost every American athlete has had microphones stuck in their face by the foreign press asking them how they felt about wearing the USA uniform and representing such a corrupt, reprehensible country, trying to get answers from some of them to condemn what's happening here in the United States of America, which all of them would concede gladly that they would give anything to live here as opposed to whatever end of the earth place they represent. And of course, we've had a number of athletes take the bait and say, well, I'm conflicted. I don't know. There's a lot of things in our country that I don't agree with and I don't like that's going on. And guess what? For every American citizen, you have every right, as do they, to list whatever grievances you have. But for God's sake, when you're coming over here, over to Italy to represent the United States of America, who has put resources and time and training to help you achieve this opportunity and this dream, don't tell the foreign press that you have problems with your country, because they're just ready to run with that to the top of every mountaintop to try and condemn this country and make it into something it's not. How many of you would like to right now transfer to, well, let's just pick a place, Ukraine or the Soviet Union, which is just Russia now. It's no longer the Soviet Union, although Vladimir Putin is working hard to reestablish that. Somewhere in the Middle East, maybe. How about right up the northern part of South Korea, near the DMZ, where it's always a fun day. In all these places around the world that are impoverished and absolutely destitute, they're trying to get Americans to diss their own country, to badmouth their own country, and shame on them and shame on any of our athletes. We had the awful group that made up the U.S. women's soccer team in recent years. This is the Winter Olympics, so that's the summer. But that was a whole team of ideological crackpots. It's the same women you see in the streets now with their heads shaved, yelling at the top of their lungs, supporting Palestinians, which of course is an ancient, ideology that regards women in the lowest regard, and would rather have women be in subservient roles. Women have no rights, don't deserve an education, can't be seen on the street without a man escorting them, etc., etc. Yet these, whatever's wrong with them, completely America-hating, brainwashed crackpots are out in the streets screaming on behalf of ancient Islamic law, which regards them as the lowest form of life. But I digress. This whole thing, If you don't want to go represent your country and you can't keep your mouth shut and just say, I'm glad to be here, I'm excited to be competing for my country and making my family and friends and all the people who supported me proud, then you need to take your uniform off, get a plane ticket home, and get the hell out of here. We don't want you representing our country. I don't care if you're the best figure skater, downhill skier, what's the crazy game they play? I can't even remember the name of it, where they basically slide like a milk jug. Anyway, if you are not proud to represent the United States of America, we don't want you representing the United States of America. There's a whole line of probably 100 people who would just gladly get on a plane and take your place and proudly display the red, white, and blue. And finally, I can't leave this alone, but I cannot tell you how reluctant I am to even talk about it. But it is unbelievable in this country how the push buttons are actually activated. And the Super Bowl halftime show last night, of course, is the raging controversy in this country because the performer at the Super Bowl halftime show was Bad Bunny. Now, I had not ever heard of Bad Bunny until it was announced back, I don't know, last summer that he was going to be the guy in the Super Bowl this year. Found out he's from Puerto Rico, found out he basically does all of his music in Spanish. You know, all that's fine. I don't care where he's from. I don't care what he looks like. I don't care what language he sings his songs in. I don't care that he's like a cross-dresser and just way far left ideologically, taking shots in his songs of American institutions, the aforementioned ICE for one, where he's singing in Spanish. So it's okay for him to sing what's been told to me are extremely shocking, sexually explicit lyrics. If it was in English, it would be completely bleeped out. I don't understand how in any language, if you are speaking in a vile tone and in disgusting, public speech that's not allowed, I don't know what difference it makes if you're singing it in a different language. But anyway, for all what it's worth, apparently this is a very popular rising star in the music business. Jay-Z has been put in charge by the NFL of halftime entertainment extravaganzas. The National Football League is continually trying to expand its brand globally, and it also has, for whatever reason, a real woke element to it where they continue to want to put on controversial acts. I'm glad I'm not the booking agent because I don't even know who I would choose. I would probably take a classic rocker from yesteryear, and that would be completely shouted down. So it's kind of a thankless job. But let me just be strong in my conviction here. I don't care that Bad Bunny was the entertainment. And the only reason that people do care is because Turning Point USA and a group of performers counter-programmed the halftime show because of the complete leftist agenda that this show was portraying. I don't care about the halftime show. I watch the Super Bowl, hold your breath and gasp. I watch it to watch the football game. I don't care who's on the portable stage at halftime. I don't know where the thousands of people that come on the field and dance around while that's going on, where do they come from? Do they have them like staged outside? I know they don't. I know they can't. They don't give them what averaged a $7,000 per seat ticket to the game. Did they just usher them in to jump around and act ridiculous and then send them on their way? Thanks for coming by. Thanks for participating. Here's your free T-shirt or whatever the hell you got. The whole thing to me is just absurd. I don't know, even back when there were performers that I was very familiar with or even liked, Paul McCartney back in the day, The Who was way over the hill when they got to play, but there's been a lot of those kind of performers, of course, over the years. But the bottom line is, I don't care who's the halftime performers. I don't care that there's an alternate show going on that you can access on YouTube or X and thousands of other streaming platforms. By all accounts, Kid Rock was the headliner. I wasn't a big Kid Rock fan back when he was relevant. I guess he's relevant now just because of his adopting more of a pro-America, right-wing attitude. But again, I don't judge entertainment or entertainers by their politics. If I did that, several of my very favorite musical talents and singer-songwriters I wouldn't have anything to do with. I don't care what color they are. I think some of the most amazing performers have been people from different countries and of different ethnic persuasions. I don't care if the music's good and it fits my ear. I love lyrics. I love brilliant musical accompaniments, particularly on piano, but also certainly guitar and full bands. I love classic bands like the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac and many, many others. Jackson Browne, my favorite singer-songwriter, a far left individual. Bruce Springsteen, a memorable performer, but very leftist in his politics. I don't care. I like the music that I like, and I probably wouldn't even watch much of that in a Super Bowl halftime show, which is 10 or 12 minutes of complete chaos and hype, and I don't care. Bad Bunny, bring it on. Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd, if that's next year, have at it. But, the whole thing is so ridiculous now that if anybody says a discouraging word, I'm seeing blowback everywhere that we're just a bunch of white racists and we don't accept anybody from a different culture or a different color. I don't judge people by what they look like. I don't judge them by their particular talents or their politics. I judge it by if I like the music or I like the entertainment genre, whether it's a film or an actor or a comedian. That's what I judge things by. And I think all of us need to take a step backward and stop arguing about this great cultural divide in this country, because there is clearly a divide of people that are promoting one set of circumstances against people that are pretty set in their ways like me. I don't resent them trying to push what they want me to pay attention to, but I don't have to participate because that's the right that we all have as Americans. They have every right to try and force feed me something that I'm not really into, and I have every right to reject those overtures. And that's what I wanted to say, and that's what you need to know. Think for yourself, make your own decisions, but don't get sucked into arguments about things that are not able to be solved, because the attitude is if you are not on board, and this is the problem, they don't respect me for what I like and am comfortable with, but they will criticize me if I don't immediately embrace what they're trying to sell. And as an American, I have no obligation to do so. That's what you need to know. Have a great week, everybody. God bless America. And you athletes over in Italy wearing proudly the USA colors, USA, go get them, bring home the gold.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.